Hello everyone, it's Luli, and today I'm going to be talking about a Switch game that I recently played called Rainswept. But before I start, if you like visual novels, if you like otome games, and if you just like fangirling over 2D guys and cute things, then you come to the right place because I upload once, sometimes twice a week, and stream regularly. So if that's something you're interested in, then please do click that subscribe and bell button and you will not regret it. Also, note that although I would not consider any of what I include in this video as spoilers, I'm aware that what you consider spoilers and what I consider spoilers may not quite align. So if you're even a little bit sensitive and you don't even want to know what you'd find in the summary on the, game webpage, then I would swiftly move on. But anyway, let me start. So let me quickly go through the story, like the summary, what you'd find on the website. So this is a side-scroller mystery type story-driven game. It's a point-and-click adventure essentially. You're this detective that gets called into this small village to help investigate what happened to these two people who are found dead. And actually, I guess because of the nature of a small village and they almost want to just make sure that the reputation is like it's a happy small village or whatever, it almost feels like the policemen are just trying to shrug it off and deal with it as soon as possible, because the detective arrives and police department is just kind of like, it's just this, we think it's this, it's obvious and that's what it is and let's move on. But the detective is of course kind of like, no, we should go through standard procedure and figure out true, like, to the details what happened, because he notices a couple of things and thinks he's unsure as to why there's this or that sort of thing. And so it's all about him unraveling the mystery and exploring himself as a person. And yeah, it's really fun because you learn about sort of his backstory, then you learn about the victim, and it kind of, so whenever you come across a piece of evidence or something of victims, like a diary or something, it kind of enacts what happened to them. And I thought it was a really nice way to explore, experience those characters' lives, and it felt quite emotional. I felt quite emotional at times because it was quite real in how things happened. And yeah, it was good and very atmospheric because of like the rain and the situation. The villagers were friendly, but it was almost like they didn't know anything about the couple, so they couldn't help. So it was kind of frustrating. I wouldn't really call it I wouldn't say it's a puzzle game, mainly because it felt more like sort of you were going through the story more so than actually, contributing in solving the case. So that's something that I was a bit like, oh, that's a shame. But also I feel like if you were focusing on the puzzles and things, like if puzzles exist in this game, then I feel like, you may not have been focusing on the story, which I felt was the most important part. But moving on to things that I liked and didn't like about the game. So things that I really liked about the game is that, well, I've always liked point and click adventures. I like kind of looking through things, discovering more and more about characters. So I felt that was really enjoyable. I liked the story. As I said, I felt emotional at times and it was enjoyable because story-driven games is like my, right up my street. I think, although the art is incredibly simplistic, I think it worked. It kind of reminded me of like, I'm sure many of you know South Park, but during the early days it was literally like cut out paper in the form of characters and that sort of thing. It was a bit like that. And some people may not be fond of that. Maybe they want more like complicated, beautiful art. But personally, I think that kind of worked because you weren't sort of focusing on, the art, whatever. You were just experiencing the story. But though what I found weird was the background art was really pretty, but the sprites were like kind of meh. But I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. And yeah, but there were things that I were not too fond about. Now, one thing is that I think it felt like a bit of a walking simulator. So to go from A to B, you'd have to like kind of walk, and yeah, you can run, but it takes forever. So you'd have to go to this location because there's evidence or, whatever. there was quite a lot of walking time, so it sort of felt like a waste of time while you're doing walking sometimes. If they had like a quick map or something where you just like click that and you'd end up there, it would definitely feel a lot more smooth. There were a few qualms I had about the story. I couldn't help but think, why wouldn't they notice this or that, or why wouldn't, like, there were a few things here and there that I felt were not realistic in how the investigation would go, but of course I think you can kind of ignore those things if you aren't picky. So there's that. I also felt like perhaps they focused suddenly on characters that, you know, I feel like they should have either focused on just that one character or just the two, rather than trying to look at the backstories of multiple different people. Honestly, I think the detective's backstory and the couple's backstory was enough, as opposed to like a couple of the other characters where you're sort of like, that happened really quickly. Like things like that I think could have been improved. But overall, I really enjoyed this game. Who would I recommend it to? I would recommend it to those who like story-driven games, who like point-and-click adventures, who want to feel a little bit emotional, someone who's not really looking for like an action-packed thing, but something to take their time and like just feel how maybe the victims and the detective feels in the process, and like, you know, are looking for stories and storytellings more so than a gaming aspect. Now, those who I would not recommend it to, I would not recommend it to those who want an actual like detective game where you solve the mystery yourself, because honestly it just sort of happens in its own way. You do feel like sometimes you're contributing, but it feels more like you're contributing in that you're directing the detective to go to certain places, that sort of thing. It didn't really feel so much like you are solving it. So if that's something you're looking for, then I probably wouldn't go with this game. I also wouldn't recommend it to those who are looking for, you know, like an action-packed thing, or someone who's looking for a really long game. Because yeah, this one's relatively short. I think it took me about 4, maybe 5 hours to complete. It was quite short. For me, that's a good thing, but I'm aware that some of you are looking for like a really long adventure. I would also not recommend it to those who are very picky about art and want something magnificent, because this is, as I said, very simplistic. I personally thought it worked, but I'm aware that that's not, you know, how everyone feels. So I understand if you're kind of like, the art isn't for me, that sort of thing. So that's kind of it. It costs £8.99 on Switch. I don't know whether I would spend that full price. I got it on sale, so I got it for cheaper, and when I got it on cheaper I felt like it was worth my money, but I'm not sure about £8.99, and the reason is because my personal rating would probably be a 6.5 or 6.8, kind of like not quite a 7 type of thing out of 10. The reason for this is because there were times when I was sort of bored, not because of the story or anything like that. I did think the story took time to develop because of the walking simulator kind of vibe. If it didn't have so much walking in it, like if I didn't go the wrong way and then would have to walk all the way back, that sort of thing, I think I would have enjoyed it more, because then I would be able to experience the story quicker. So that is something that I had an issue with, and is also why I won't be playing it for the second time to get the second ending, because there was just so much walking. But honestly, the story was nice. I'm not sure how I felt about who did it and all of that, but it was really, honestly, it was really fun learning about the couple, how they came to be, the detective's backstory. Like, all those things did bring about emotions from me, and that was enough for me to enjoy the game. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea of what the game is like. Thank you very much for listening to me until the very end. Hopefully this video will be of help to you to determine whether to buy the game or not. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and hopefully I'll see you in another one of my videos. Bye!